This conference will now be recorded.
We're being recorded, so that's great. It is 9 o'clock, and we have quorum, so we're in good shape here. I'll go through the formalities here at the beginning. My name's John Woodbury. I'm the chairperson of the Committee of Adjustment, and we've called the meeting to order. This committee includes members of council. However, we sit here as Committee of Adjustment, not as members of council, and our jurisdiction lies solely with matters of consent and minor variance applications. The secretary of this committee is Holly Malnick. This is a hearing to consider minor variances and consents within the Township of Southgate and is held under the provisions of the Planning Act 1990. This hearing will be in accordance with the Provincial Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and the Township of Southgate official plan. Can I have a mover and seconder for confirmation of the agenda as amended? Martin and Barbara, any discussion? Anyone opposed? Okay, that is carried. If there's any declarations of pecuniary interest, you can declare now or at any time, and we all know about the lovely paperwork that we always have to fill out about things. So we'll carry on with that. Need a mover.
Excuse me, John.
Yep. Hey, Jason.
Yeah, sorry, it's Jason here. I was a bit late. I just thought I'd let you know I'm on the line here. Okay,
that's great. Well, you know what? You're probably less than 30 seconds late. So if you're going to be late, that's great timing.
Right on. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the adoption of the minutes for May 25th meeting. I need a mover and seconder, and since I just heard Jason talk, I think, would you be in favor of moving that one, Jason?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and Jim, would you be in favor of
seconding that? I'll second it, Michael.
Oh, Michael, okay. And any discussion? Seeing none, anyone opposed? And that is carried. So we'll move on now. I'll just again remind everybody some of the things. Anyone's seeking to speak about this application, please state any of the applications. State your full name and address for the record. Please keep remarks relevant to the consent or minor variance applications that are before the committee, as we have no jurisdiction on any other matters. All materials submitted to the committee for viewing will remain property of the Committee of Adjustment and will be available for public viewing in the application file and may be placed online. All right, so let's move on to the first one, application. And I think I've been reading too many fine print things these last few days, so I'm going to increase the size here. This is notice of application for NB Wood Machining. The subject land is located concession 11, lot 33 and 34 in the geographic township of Proton. The purpose is to sever the two original township lots, being 33 and 34, having inadvertently merged back to their original lot dimensions. Lot 33 would be 40.61 hectares and have a 540.5 meter frontage on Southgate Road 14. Lot 34 will have approximately 40.61 hectares with 269.78 meters of frontage on Southgate Road 14. The effect would be to create two farm parcels with approximately 40 hectares in size, each with frontage on Road 14. Can I have confirmation the proper notice was posted, please?
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. This file was deferred, so notice was not required to bring it back to the committee today.
Great, thank you. And that's not the normal answer that we get, so that's kind of a good way to start today. I'll ask now if Clint Stredwick Our planner would review any comments received. And good morning, Clint, welcome.
Good morning. So as the Secretary Treasurer noted, this is a deferred application that's been brought back pending addressing a couple of the concerns. The first one, so I'm not going to read all the comments again, but I will read the additional comments that address the concerns. So there was initially concerns from the County of Grey and the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, and they have since submitted revised comments, and both of them are now saying that the application is acceptable and that it can proceed. And therefore, based on that, I'm suggesting we approve the application.
Okay, thank you very much. If the applicant or agent is present and would like to say anything, please identify yourself and free to make your comments. Okay. Committee members, do you have any questions about this? Not seeing any. We've already done your stuff, Clint. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak in favor of this? Are there any members of the public that would like to speak in opposition? Okay, now that we've had a couple of minutes, have the committee members thought of any questions? Okay, so now I will entertain a motion to approve refuse or go ahead, Barb.
I move we grant the application based on the criteria provided in the report.
Okay, thank you. And Martin, you'll second that? Okay, and the criteria is that the permit be obtained for the stream from the SPCA, the fees and charges are paid, and a survey is provided. Any further discussion on that? Is anyone opposed to that motion? So that motion is passed. Thank you, everyone. We'll next move on to Brenda and Murray Calders. And let me just pull this up. The purpose is to sever a small 0.65 acre lot and add it to the abutting corner lot that is only 0.35 acres. The addition will allow for the construction of a small barn for maximum of 2 horses for transportation purposes. The severed lot will have a frontage on Gray Road 109 and will require access for the proposed barn. The retained lot will have a frontage on 109 and Southgate Road 12 and be approximately 20 acres in size. The effect would be to enlarge a small corner lot to 1 acre in size to allow the small horse barn to be constructed. The retained lot will continue to be used for agriculture. And this is one that I think is either coming back in a modified type way. So I'll ask Holly that question and see what the answer is this time. Was proper notice given, Holly?
Thanks, Chair Woodbury. This file was also deferred, so notice was not needed to bring it back to the committee today.
I'm sensing a theme. Okay, Clint, would you give us your comments on this file?
Thank you. So the primary concern for this was the policy considerations and the comments from the Conservation Authority and the concerns about development within the 100-year floodline. And through a cut and fill plan and some other shifting a little bit of things, they were able to satisfy the Conservation Authority and move the actual development out of the 100-year floodplain. The development being the the barn, not the entire parcel being added to the 1 acre lot. So from that perspective, it meets the policy, and the Conservation Authority is now satisfied with it. So based on that, I'm recommending it now be approved.
That's great. Thank you, Clint. And it's always nice to see that these ones that people have been working on for good reasons for a while find a way to work things out. If the applicant or agent is available and would like to identify themselves and add anything, you're more than welcome to do that now. Okay. Not hearing any. Committee members, any questions or comments? Barbara.
For you, Chair Woodbury. Hi, Clinton. Nice to see you. This was also, there was some question about the county and their requirement for road widening along the Southgate Road 12 and County Road 109. Well, not Southgate Road 12 necessarily, but County Road 109 for that entire stretch. And I don't see that in your staff report, your new staff report, addressing that. I know that there was concerns expressed as to by committee members as well as the person providing the lot adjustment as to why that would be necessary. Now that would definitely be up to the landowner to contact the county and negotiate that. But was there a decision about that? And I have a follow-up based on that answer.
To be fair, no, there wasn't, and I probably should have put that in to include that in the conditions, and that should likely be noted in the conditions that is still a request of the County of Grey. They get grumpy when we don't do that and sometimes appeal the decisions. So it's probably best if we do put that in there.
Yes, because I do note that there is there's a staff report on an upcoming county agenda or a past one that is requesting county council to decide whether to appeal to the OLB a municipality's decision not to require a road widening. And yes, I wouldn't want to be putting the township in a position of not fulfilling that requirement, so, or into an appeal position, which would only then delay the application. So
correct.
I defer to you and Holly to create a condition that would satisfy if required, and that leaves it up to the property owner to negotiate said severance road widening.
Thank you for that catch, Member Dobreen. That's again, it was just because we were bringing it back. It was an oversight on my part, but yes, it should be in there.
Well, it's also possible that it was resolved and we didn't need it, so I didn't know what the status of that was. So thank you very much. Those are my comments.
Okay, Martin.
Good morning, Clinton. With the Conservation Authority, you said there was some film that they could move around to make the building. Kind of tagging along with Member Dobreen's comments about the county. There's one part, it says the new structure must adhere to the county's setback policy of 75 feet from the existing center line. Is that still in play, or did that shifting from conservation change that in any way?
Yeah, that shouldn't be an issue, because if they can meet our setbacks, they'll meet that setback anyway. And okay, to be fair, that the existing house is closer than that anyway, so it's not going to be any closer than the existing house.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Not seeing any any further questions. If I think we've already did the applicant having a chance to comment on this, so we'll ask if there's any members of the public that would like to speak in favor or opposed. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Any further questions from the committee? Okay. And so then I will entertain the motion to approve or refuse. What's in here now for conditions is that the Public Works is satisfied. Wait a minute. I think I just skipped one here on the motion. I hit the wrong one. That the permits obtained from the SPCA, fees and charges are paid, surveys provided, and the lands be rezoned accordingly to permit the proposed barn and livestock use, and recognize any reduced zoning as a result of the lot creation. And what would you like added to that, Clint, if any?
And that the road widening requested by the County of Grey be provided.
Okay. Mover and seconder to grant or refuse. Martin, what?
I'll move it.
Grant?
Yeah,
Okay.
to grant, sorry.
Yeah, seconder. Okay, Barbara. Any further discussion on that? And that is carried. Thank you. Next, we move on to application but from Kendra and Stephen Verbeek at Plan 24, Part Mill Block 1RP 16R1086. The purpose of this is to sever a lot along the foundation wall to create two semi-detached lots. The severed lot will have 8.1 meters of frontage and have an area of 543 meters squared. The retained lot will have 7 meters of frontage and an area of 1,173 meters squared. A 1.5 meter by 2 meter servicing easement will also be created on each parcel in favor of the other parcel. The effect would be to create two lots, one for each unit of the semi-detached residence, as well as servicing easements. Can I have confirmation that proper notice was given?
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. I can confirm proper notice was given.
Okay, thank you. Clint, if you'd like to review any comments, please.
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. So the first comment we have is from Bell Canada, and they have no concerns or objections. Enbridge Gas indicate that they do have service lines running within the area, which may or may not be affected by the proposed severance. Should the proposed severance impact these services, it may be necessary to terminate the gas service and relocate the line according to the new property boundaries. Any service relocation required due to the severance would be at the cost of the property owner. Comments from the Grand River Conservation Authority. The property does not contain lands regulated by the GRCA, and as such, there will not be providing comment. Where are these comments from? The Historic Saugeen Métis have reviewed the relevant documents and have no objection or opposition. Hydro One are in receipt of the consent application. They have reviewed the documents and have no comments or concerns at this time. Our preliminary review considers issues affecting Hydro One's high voltage facilities and corridor lands only. For proposals affecting lower voltage distribution facilities, please consult your local area distribution supplier. The Public Works Department indicate that a safe access can be provided. Stormwater system as per submitted drainage plan. It's an urban asphalt road standard. road widening is not required. A curb cut will be required for the entrance. It is a load restricted road. And then the additional comments, the hydro pole to be relocated from the middle of the driveways. All site works at the owner's expense, and road and sidewalk damages from contractors' excavator for servicing install in 2021 will be repaired as noted last year at the owner's expense. And then we have comments from the County of Grey, and they indicate provided positive comments are received from the Conservation Authority, the county have no further concerns. And that's all of the, pardon me, that's all of the agency comments received.
Okay, anything from the public?
And there are no written comments received from the public at this time.
Okay, thank you, Clinton. If the applicant or agent is present and would like to make any comments, please identify yourself and feel free to make any comments.
Oh, it's Stephen Verbeek. I'm here. I'm guessing you guys can hear me. The
Yes.
only concern I have is just on the relocation of the hydro pool. I think I've talked to Hydro, and there's 3 other people attached along with the 2 semi-detached houses right now, as we speak. So we were wondering just for if we could make more of an entrance as we come in, and I think Jeff has done a little sketch for that. It's just because we're going to affect a lot of people if we move that hydro pole. We probably can get our clearances and stuff there. So I don't know, Jeff, can you state on that, or I don't know how the proceeds go?
We can't hear you, Jeff. I think your headset might be causing an issue.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
There you are. Yes.
I hit the button on the line. Didn't realize that. My name is Jeff Buseman. I'm with Van Herten Surveying, and yeah, this application for the semi-detached severance and several minor variances to go with it, and the easement to be created. All the comments have been positive. Steve's main concern is the requirement to relocate the hydro pole. I respect the desire to keep it aesthetically pleasing, and Steve did have some dialogue with Hydro and having some tough time trying to figure out another better alternative. This morning, I just did a quick markup on a drawing of what Steve is suggesting for the driveway. I've emailed it to Holly. I don't know if Holly can put it on her screen, or if I'm allowed to share my screen and put it on the screen, just to show what we have in mind for this. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Holly. Yep. So what's typically a hydro pole right in the middle of the 2 driveways. This may not be the most aesthetically pleasing. What's unique on this one, though, is that the semi-detached is quite set back. There's a long distance of a long driveway. So one thought is to have the driveways spread out more as they move forward, as they move towards the street. And give ample clearance to that hydro pole, and make it more a grassed area between the 2 driveways for a longer distance. I think that that could be quite aesthetically pleasing. The one thing that we thought about was, does the hydro pole move to the, I'm going to say, oriented on the piece of paper towards the right, towards the red drive, on the other side of the red driveway, but then almost we're starting to get in conflict with the driveway for that driveway on the right-hand side. So these are just some ideas and some thoughts to maybe dealing with the hydro pole. I'm wondering if, so one suggestion for this meeting is that we maybe, and even the condition 4 maybe stay the same, but something to the effect of that the hydro pole position be reconsidered or altered to the satisfaction of the local municipality is one idea of dealing with condition number 4. Either that, another idea is just to defer this and try to, if we can see if we can come up with a better resolution to this hydro pole issue to the satisfaction of the local municipality. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments on that. I'd be glad to answer them.
Great, thank you. Clint, I think you're the one that's most obvious to go to right now to see what your thoughts are here before we ask the committee.
Okay, so these are comments directly from the Public Works Director. And remember, this hydro pole is on the municipal road allowance. So it's our liability if it gets hit, if someone backs into it or gets knocked over. There's concerns about being perpendicular to the road when you enter and exit the road. That wasn't the case initially. They're starting to rectify that in this drawing, but I'm not sure that's satisfied. The other concern is, like, even just backing up into these driveways would be a challenge. They are longer driveways, and that's one of the main issues is the safety of the public and the electricity grid, for that matter. The fact that hydro pole, it becomes more of a target, and the further you move, I guess it would be driveway B on that drawing to the right, from what I can see here. I guess that would be more south, but you are impacting the next driveway then, because there's less room between the driveway and the next one. So there are no easy solutions in this. Yes, you might be affecting the hydro for the 3 people for a short amount of time, but then it's done and it's over with, and it's done properly, and you carry on. That's sort of the perspective of staff. Unfortunately, Jim is in training today, so he can't be here to reiterate that. But if they would like us to consider this, I would suggest maybe we do defer it and have a look and see if there is a way to massage the drawing and bring it back in the meeting in July. But as of right now, I would keep the condition the same based on that. So that's my comments.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Holly, if we could have everybody back on the screen, it'd be easier now for me to see who has questions or comments. Thank you. Questions or comments from the committee? Barbara.
Thank you. And Clinton, yeah, it's a difficult one. Obviously, this was going to be an issue, whether it was going to be a rental, whether it was going to be severed or not. It's unfortunate that wasn't foreseen. And I can understand the dilemma of moving it to the south and even moving it to the north, to the left of the driveway, facing the road, because it impacts the other neighbor's sight line, I suppose. Doesn't necessarily interfere with their driveway per se. But I guess my concern was that now we're looking to sever, and this is coming to light. I don't think it's just the municipality that needs to be satisfied, because it does, I mean, to Mr. Verbeek's comment, it does affect the other residents, and they may not be satisfied that now the pole is in their front yard. I'm not sure how to resolve that. I don't envy that situation. I think, you know, if there isn't a time sensitivity to this, that we allow the property owner and their consultants the opportunity to come up with a solution that not only satisfies the municipality with the safety aspects, because I was thinking about, I wouldn't want to be backing up and around and snow removal and all of that other stuff. If we were to defer it and give them an opportunity to come up with a solution that satisfies all. My only other question about the file was, is 7 meters, I guess that's the next file though, isn't it, Clinton? The minor variance. So I'll reserve my, you're muted, Clinton.
You're muted, Clinton. I'm sure that was a great comment, though.
Sorry, they are related, so it is a fair point to talk about it now, because they're the same subject matter.
Is 7 meter, and I understand that the concept was that it would be a mutual driveway for snow, so that you don't have that division, and for snow removal, is 7 meters something that we haven't had an issue with before in town, where we've allowed a minor variance where we've reduced that frontage by 3 meters?
Certainly some of the issues have been related to snow storage and snow removal. The bigger the frontage, the more ability you have to put a driveway in and have additional snow storage on the side. You assume about a 3 meter driveway approximately. Sometimes they're 4, and then you have some room on the side for grassed area for that sort of thing. They are required to be at least a minimum of 1 meter from the side lot line to allow for just that snow storage at a very minimum. But still, with the amount of snow that happens up here, it can be very challenging for sure. With respect to the other comment you made about affecting other people, it's in our road allowance. So the primary concern is liability for the township and safety for the public. So whether or not it goes in front of someone else's house is quite frankly irrelevant in the sense of a public safety issue. So we're not putting it in their driveway. We may just move it over so it's on the side of their lot or something to that effect. It won't be creating a safety. So I just want to make that clear that it's not really up to the homeowners per se. It's up to the township to keep the road allowance safe and avoid obstacles if possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think giving the snow aspect of those, Chair Woodbury and to Clinton, it is a long driveway. So you've got to shovel that much more snow. I would move that we defer it when that time comes.
Okay, thank you. My 2 cents worth on this, just before I get other comments, I'd like to go through the whole process so that we can, if we do defer it, it's kind of more of a narrow scope on what we're deferring. We get everything else out of the way. But my 2 cents is, with it being, looks like so far a single issue, if it is deferred, I would like to, like Clint had said, to see if we could bring it back as soon as possible, or as soon as the proponent can work something out, because you know, it's I know not just frustrating to the applicant, but frustrating for all of us when it takes a year to get things, you know, sorted out, and we've all seen that with different agencies. That's my 2 cents worth. If we do defer it, I'd like to see if there could be a solution fairly soon, because that doesn't help anyone if it takes a while. Are there any other comments from the committee? Martin?
Jason here, John. Oh, sorry.
Okay, then Martin, then you're next, Jason.
Yeah, no
Thanks.
problem.
Clinton, looking at the overhead photograph, I guess if Holly could bring that one up.
Let's see.
Concerning the hydro poles, I'm assuming when it pops up, there's 4 lines on the road, or shadow lines. I'm assuming they're the hydro pole.
That's likely correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay, and I think it was a logical solution on paper to do the widening and the splitting of the around that, but I'm not a hydro engineer, but I know the lines are put up in such a way that the slack is all tension related and what have you. So if they move one pole, you know, and the owner would have to talk to hydro about this. As I said, I'm not an engineer, but if there's a certain slack between each pole when they move it, and it's hydro's infrastructure on municipal land, they might want another pole put anyway just to cover up the slack. So I'm tending, you know, as I said, I'm not an engineer, but I think I agree with Barb for this one. It's the start for what the surveyor did and changing the layout of the driveways, but because of that fact and the, as you said, liability, I will probably defer it as well. But if the owners here, how well did the owner get along with Hydro about all this? So he did mention he talked to them.
They had done a like the hydro is actually into the semi now. They were the ones that did. There was actually a layout done from hydro. So they connected the semis to that pole, and knowing basically they had the drawing originally.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. Thank you. Jason?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go at it from another angle. I guess maybe I always do. I talked with Steven yesterday a couple times, and like Hydro's approved it. And I think we always make stuff more complicated than it has to be. He's got a good concept there, putting in the middle. Like we're talking about how the safety is going to be affected, or our liability. I don't understand how the liability or safety will be affected if you move the pole one way or the other. If it stays in the middle, it's basically only the people coming out of that semi, and they know that. And you know, I guess I heard a couple comments saying it'd be hard to back around or whatever. And I know this is putting it simple, but if you can't back around that, you probably shouldn't be out on the road anyways. But like I don't know, we're at a time now when we need housing, and we have a fella here that wants to bring 2 semis on board and get it done, and all we do is delay and hold them up. So I don't know. I don't know whether you want to defer it. I'd rather not defer it. I'd rather take that clause out and let them go ahead, especially when Hydro says it. But I don't know how that works. It's just my comment. We want housing, and here's one here, and we just keep holding them up. And I think if I'm right, if he has to move the pole or put in 2 poles to service him and the other houses, that's going to be at his cost. So all of a sudden we're going to add, I'm guessing, 100,000 to the guy's houses, and that's going to be a pretty big hit. But that's just if we defer it, I'd like to see it back here as soon as possible. Put it that way.
Yep, good comment, Jason. Barb, I see you, but if there's anyone else from the committee that would like to have their turn, then we'll go to you. Okay, Barb, let's go to you.
No, absolutely, Chair Woodbury, absolutely. So, in fairness, we approved this rezoning to a semi based on the property owner's intent to rent the semis. The hydro pole was still going to be a problem, whether we rent them. No. Oh, so maybe Clinton is shaking his head that something transpired as a result of the development, and hydro put the pole where, I don't know. Maybe you could elaborate, because before it wasn't going to need the severance. Now they're back to us. We approved the rezoning for semi based on rental. They would never have had to come back to us. Is that correct, Clinton?
Yeah,
If they continued to rent.
Yeah, let's see
So
what Clinton's actually.
if it's a rental building, you only need one entrance, okay? On one side of the pole or the other side of the pole. It doesn't matter which side, but you only need one entrance to go into the property. Now that you're splitting it into two with two different owners, you now require two entrances. With shared driveways, sometimes you get bun fights happening where you're people pushing snow and whatever else. And I can tell you right now, with a long laneway like that and a curb put in the middle of it, to Jason's point, people aren't good drivers, and maybe they shouldn't be on the road, but they get a license anyways. But when the pole gets knocked over, it affects a little more than just that person. It affects a lot of people because it knocks out the hydro for the whole area. So there's that concern. It's not a good solution, and the best time to do it is now, to fix it and move on. Just because it's an inconvenience to timing, to Jason's point, it's still, in my opinion, it's still a crap place to have a pole, is in the middle of a driveway, right? From everything from snow clearing to just maneuvering in and out of the driveway. If you can't have if you're having obstructions in your driveway, then maybe it's not the right spot for the driveway. So I'm fine to have Jim have a look at that plan to see if it would work. I defer to him in that respect with liability and safety to the roads, but that's just my thoughts on that. So.
Okay.
Chair Woodbury.
Actually, Jeff, I think has a comment on that, Barb, and we'll come back to you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Jeff, go ahead.
I appreciate all the comments, and I think deferral is probably the best to kind of evaluate it. I just drew that up quickly this morning. I'd like to spend a little more time to draw it well, design it well, and actually make it aesthetically quite pleasing, and hopefully convince Clinton and the municipal staff to say, hey, this is not a bad idea. But I think we give it a shot. Goal to get it back here in July. Get it done quickly so Steve can move on with creating these housing units. I think that would be the best.
Great comment. Thank you.
I don't have a camera, but I'm raising my hand.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just pointing out, like, I took a drive around town, and the main street that was reconstructed last year, like in 2021. There's a hydro pole on Alice Street and Main Street that is actually right at the corner. There's not even a sidewalk or anything. All there is the rainwater. Just out of curiosity, is that not more of a high-speed, dangerous concern? And no one moved it at that time when the town reconstructed the road. So we're only backing in at low speeds here. So that's just my comment. I'm not trying to point fingers, but there is multiple houses in the area that have the same situation, and we're trying to make a very wide distance, I guess, from that hydro pole, what Jeff is willing to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see your point. Unfortunately, that seems to be a fairly time-consuming part of for staff and for the different committees and council, is fixing 20, 30, 40-year-old mistakes. And when you talk about Main and Alice, there's also jurisdictional things like Main Street isn't the towns, it's the counties. And so there's a whole lot of different things in play there, and yeah, we do try to fix any of those things as the opportunity comes up. But I think the best policy is to try and do it right the first time. And if we can do something, and it's up to the committee to decide, like this is just my voice. It takes all of us to vote on something for it to happen. But if we can do something right the first time, it's not going to be a problem down the road. And that's kind of the philosophy that we go by. And yes, you're right. You can look at all kinds of different planning things that we thought were great in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that you wouldn't allow anywhere now.
Yeah,
So,
no, I appreciate that. No, that's
Yeah.
that's fine. I understand. That's good.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, and I think that just if we can come up with a solution that's good for you and good for us, and as far as we know won't lead to major problems down the road. I think that's, especially if we can do it quickly, that's a good.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much for your cooperation with that, Barbara.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're not trying to delay this any longer than absolutely necessary. We want to move it forward. We're supportive of infill lots and your bringing 2 new houses on board. Rentals would have been great, but ownership is good too. As Clinton indicated, it wouldn't have been a problem if it was a rental because you could have had just 1 entrance. Instead of 2. The fault of delays is not our own at this point. We're trying to move it forward. Staff are doing the best to move it forward, and I think I would like to move that we defer it with staff understanding that this come back as quickly as possible. I think Mr. Buseman, Jeff, you have some ideas. Staff will be receptive to looking at those options, and we'll get it on the next agenda if at all possible.
Okay. Yes, I agree, Barb. The only thing is, I'm going to rule at this point that deferring it right now is probably not appropriate. I'd like to go through the process. The public has a chance to comment on anything else with this as we go through. And at the end of the process on this one, if deferral, that way it gives everybody their say, and we're not covering all the ground again.
My apologies. I thought we had gone through that, Chair.
Nope. But you're definitely, we'll get you with the deferral when we can there. Martin.
Yeah, thanks, John. This is for Mr. Buseman. You said you drew that up quickly this morning to expedite today's meeting. Just out of curiosity, what is the minimum distance from the edge of the driveway to a pole? And
That's a good question. The Hydro 1 has made it clear to us it's 1.5 meters. So
Okay.
we'll always make sure that, and so there's plenty of room here. What have we drawn up? We'll make sure I believe we originally set it up for 1.5 meters. The other thing is that because that drive is so long, I want to make, the comments about making it easy to drive in and out. I want to make that driveway as straight as possible, as easy to back in as possible. And, my clicking of my mouse wasn't very good this morning to show really good straight lines. So I don't mind the chance to do a better job.
okay. Just to follow up then, sir. So you could go 2 meters to make it work then. That's your point?
Probably, and you know what was really interesting, this application at the beginning, Clinton told me the concerns about snow in this area, and I guess I'm in Guelph, we have snow, but not near the volume, and so I'm thinking one fringe benefit out of this is to try to split the driveways as early as we can from the houses to have a place to bring snow in the middle of the 2 driveways as early as possible. I think that actually that's a nice little benefit that we're going to get out of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I'm not seeing any more comments from the committee, so let's ask
John, if I could. Sorry, it's Jason.
Okay, Jason. You absolutely
Sorry,
can. Nope, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, if we're deferring this, I guess I wish Jim was here. Maybe, I guess that's what I wish Jim was here. If we're deferring this, I still don't see the safety issue. If you have two driveways and the pole's in the middle, the pole is at one side of it. So if you move the pole to the far side, it's still going to be right beside one of the driveways. So I just would want to make sure we clarify the safety issue when we defer it and understand his reasonings, other than just saying it's not safe or liability. I want to know specifically what the reasoning is, because to me it doesn't make really sense. But that's just a comment.
Okay, I think the when you get right down to it, the reason is more just to give the proponent and our staff a little time to work out a good solution, whether it's safety, convenience, whatever the reason is. It's just that little bit of time to work out something that may be mutually beneficial. So we can get some clarification from Clint on why the safety issue. But in my mind, that's what it comes down to more than one issue or not. Just that there's it gives a little time to do things, make sure things are properly. And you know what, Jason, you may be right, and maybe sitting right in the middle of the driveway is the best option. But let's give staff and the proponent a chance to work that out and decide what's right, in my mind. But good point, Martin.
Yeah, just to comment, I myself would certainly like to see more houses go up in Dundalk because of another committee. But like Mr. Verbeek said, you know, you look back 30 years ago, there's a hydro pole right on the corner on a street that people do speed by. I think, unfortunately, in this day and age, the liability issue really comes more to the forefront. And so instead of maybe 30 years ago putting a hydro pole in there and dotting your T's and crossing your I's, we have to do the exact reverse and make sure everything's in order. So down the road, everything fits with everything that's going on. So, you know, I'd like to see the project go on, and if the staff can come back and Mr. Buseman can rework make sure his mouse is working so the lines are straighter. Yeah, you know, it's all good. We just have to look to the future to make sure it's done right and nobody can come back on us. And that's where the safety and liability issue is. It's down the road, perhaps not. You know, if it's going to be rented out maybe someday by the new owners, depends on who drives and what they drive. It could happen anyway. You know, so just a comment.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll move on to any questions from the public. Is there any comments in favor from the public? Or opposed from the public? Okay, not seeing any. Are there any further questions or comments from the committee? Barbara, would you mind making a motion of some sort?
I move we defer pending resolution of the hydro pole placement.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder? Martin? And before we go into any further discussion on that motion, Clint, just concerning Jason's comments, can you just elaborate a little bit on the safety end of it, just so that there's a little bit more understanding from the committee on the thinking? And from, oops, you went dark there for a minute. And
sorry, wrong button.
Yeah, you know, and I hope I hope the safety comment isn't like my driving. If you don't like my driving, then stay off the sidewalk. So I hope that's not the safety issue. So
No, and this is, again, I wish Jim were here as well. Unfortunately, he's away at training. But from my understanding, it has more to do with vehicles entering and exiting the road allowance perpendicular to the road as opposed to on an angle. That's one of the issues. So when you come back from the road allowance, you should already be perpendicular to it before you enter into the road allowance. That's one thing. And there was one other thing that he mentioned to me. I can't remember what the other one was offhand, but anyways, that was more the main one. It is making sure you're entering perpendicular, and then it had to do with the ability to clear snow and whatnot effectively in that area. Again, with one driveway, it's not an issue. With two driveways now, it becomes an issue because now you're getting two more entrance points or another entrance point onto the road, and you've already got two on either side from the other lots. So it creates more potential for interaction or catastrophe, if you want to look at it that way. So again, I'm not the expert in that. I leave that to Jim, but that's what I recall him relaying to me.
Okay, thank you. So there now was any further comments or questions on the motion to defer? Okay, is anyone opposed to deferring? And that is carried. And thank you for being so agreeable with working on these things. It's always better for all of us when we can come up with a solution. Now, Clint, does that affect the next part of this file? Us deferring the first part?
Well, only in the sense that if you're not going to approve it ever, then there's no need for the minor variance. So yeah, and the other option that might come out of it is maybe they move the lot line one way or the other slightly to help out. And then if that's the case, then it would affect how much of a frontage requirement it actually needs to be adjusted. But
would it be beneficial to go through the next one, and that way we can have any of the comments handled to make sure that there's nothing that's disagreeable to either side on the next file? And if we have to then follow whatever advice is, whether to defer it or whatever, so that they can come back together?
Yes, you should definitely go through the file. If you don't, you have to provide notice again and do all of that sort of stuff. You do have to provide opportunity for people to comment. And if we deferred it right now, there wouldn't be. So it's better to go through everything and then defer it and then bring it back with the consent in July. And then they're both dealt with at the same time. The appeal periods would run concurrent, and there's still no issue with respect to that then.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to that file now. And this is, again, file for Kendra and Stephen Verbeek, Plan 280 Part Mill Block 1RP16R1086. The purpose of the variance is to vary the provisions of the bylaw to allow for the creation of a semi-detached lot with less than 10 meters of frontage. Specifically, the application will vary section 10.3A, allowing for a reduction of the 10-meter interior frontage requirement to 7 meters. The effect of the approval of this application would be to provide relief from the bylaw to permit the creation of a lot for a semi-detached unit. The relief will specifically reduce the interior road frontage requirement from 10 meters to 7 meters. Could I have confirmation that proper notice was given?
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. I can confirm proper notice was given.
Thank you, Holly. And hey, Clint, how'd you like to go through the comments?
The comments are the basically the same from the previous file. So Bell Canada has no concerns. The County of Grey, providing the Conservation Authority is satisfied, has no concerns. Enbridge Gas, they note that if we do affect any service lines, it'll be up to the owner of the lands, not the township, to pay for any relocation costs of the lines. The Conservation Authority is satisfied. The Historic Saugeen Métis are satisfied and have no objection. And the Hydro One has reviewed it from a large scale and have no concerns based on that. And the Public Works comments are the same for this file as for the consent, being that stormwater system has to be done as per the drainage plan, a curb cut's required, and that the hydro pole is relocated, the road and sidewalk damages are repaired. Yeah, so those are the comments for this. So with respect to a minor variance, you may recall that it has to meet the four tests. It has to be minor in nature. It has to be appropriate development. It has to meet the intent of the official plan, and it has to meet the intent of the zoning bylaw with not actually meeting the specific provision. So in my report, I've reviewed all of those things, and it does meet the four tests with respect to the lot creation. Now, with that, I do put a caveat in there that the hydro pole is a bit of an issue there in terms of we may want to relocate that middle line in one way or the other a little bit. If it isn't going to be relocated, maybe it's better that it be in the middle of the two lots as opposed to on one side or the other. I'll leave that to Mr. Boozman to come up with when he redoes his drawing there. The lot frontage, which is what we're talking about, it is there to provide sufficient space for snow storage, ingress and egress safely onto the roadway, and provision of servicing. The other aspect that wasn't even mentioned in the consent is the easement that is required, and that easement's required for the servicing that's in the ground, that's brought forward, and that again is a result of it. Instead of being a rental apartment, it's now going to be split, and so now there's a small easement required in favor of the other lot to address that concern. With respect to this, the 7 meters, is it minor? Yeah, for the most part, it is minor. Obviously, residential development is appropriate. There is some similar precedent, not the same, across the road from this. There is a semi-detached lot approved. The minimum frontage for those, though, is 8 meters, not 7. So that's why I say it's similar, but not the same. And so there is another semi in the area. So creating a new semi lot is not out of the ordinary, I guess. So from that perspective, it's fine. It meets the official plan intent to have residential development in this area. And with respect to the zoning bylaw, I think we can accommodate the snow storage and a safe access and egress and whatnot. It's just how it all fits together in that smaller space now is what we have to look at. And I think I'm hopeful that Mr. Boozman can provide a plan that will make our Director of Public Works happy, and then we can go from there.
Okay, thank you. And the hydro pole isn't an issue because we settled that in the last file we're working on.
Correct.
So thank you, Clint. So if Mr. Verbeek or Jeff, if you, any comments you'd like to make on this part of it, feel free.
I mean, the report is positive. I mean, I would agree that the minor variance is in nature, so no additional comments other than we have support already and like to move forward.
Great, thank you. Committee, questions? Wow, that's good. Then we can move on to, I wasn't ready for nobody asking anything.
We got them all asked. Or
Barb, I almost went to you and said, Barb, what's your question? But so then I'll now ask for if there's any comments in favor of the application from the public or opposed. Okay, and then any further comments from the committee? Not seeing any. So again, Clint, just since we're to this point, your recommendation on how to handle this as in relation to dealing with the last file and this file was that this should be deferred as well and come back with the other one. Is that correct?
Yeah, only from the, it's more of a benefit to the actual applicant in the sense that if they do need to change the boundary in the consent, like one way or the other, a little bit to accommodate something, they're able to do that and not affect the minor variance. Whereas if they do move it more to one way or the other, they would potentially affect the minor variance and then need to apply again. And we don't want that. So it's not going to affect the timing of anything. So it's probably safer to do it that way all at once for them.
Okay, yeah, no, just as long as like this is making it better and easier all around. And I'd ask the proponent if is that like a good idea in your view too?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So any comments or questions on the motion? Oh, I need a mover and seconder first. Martin and Jim. Okay, there we go. Any questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, is anyone opposed to the motion? And that is carried. Well, I'd like to thank you two gentlemen. It's always very encouraging when we can have any of these meetings, and if there is an issue of any kind like this, to work it out together and try and get things moving quickly to resolve it. So thank you very much. And you know what, the homes like this and doing things like this in the community is always a valuable thing to us. So thank you.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure what to do with the next motion. Brian's not here to make a motion to return. It's his birthday, or to adjourn. It's his birthday. So are we allowed to adjourn without him making the motion?
Chair Woodbury, you've covered all of the requirements of the agenda. You can move that we adjourn.
Nah, we'll let somebody. Anyone want to move that we adjourn? Okay, Barbara, good. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for that. And a little bit of a different committee of adjustment day with returning files and, you know, we don't defer too many things. And I think we'll end up with some positive stuff. So, and good comments from everybody. So thank you. Have a great day.
Yep. Everybody have a good day.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide input. Thanks, Holly. Thanks, Lynn.